Welcome to the Sound Leadership Podcast for the silent superheroes of L&D, HR and leadership. Hit subscribe, give us a follow and leave your comments. We're talking about awareness versus personal responsibility, or should I say how awareness leads into personal responsibility and how that gives us choices and that allows us to take action, and ultimately you get to behavioural change for us and for others. And this is something that underpins pretty much everything we do, and we talk about this regularly, so we thought we'd do an episode based on this whole topic. Darren, let's unpack it a little bit then. So talk to us about the model in particular, and we talk about awareness and responsibility. So how does this look, this model?
And I think the key with this model is it starts with awareness, because awareness happens at every single point of our day, but we don't actually consciously take it in. And most of that is because we're looking for confirmation bias. So we look for the stuff that we already think about or that we already believe to be true. So if we think we're good at something, we'll normally see a lot of the confirmation bias that goes, we are good at it. Or if we don't think we're good at something, again, it flips and we see the confirmation bias of why we're not good at it. You know, think back to our thinking creates our reality. So that means actually awareness isn't happening at all times, because what we're just doing is confirming what we already think. This means we need to move awareness from the subconscious to the conscious. So that means we consciously have to start looking for stuff to challenge our limiting beliefs or our thought process. And that means that when we go into the depths of it, we need to challenge our unconscious bias. So everything that's been our world growing up, or embedded into our belief system, we need to start looking for those things that start to challenge it. And we can get awareness from how we've done a project. We can get awareness from what other people are thinking. And this can then start to build our information that we have inside our head. We're constantly learning and we're constantly growing. Because the more awareness we have, that gives us more options of how we're going to proceed. You know, we've gone from one option of I'm just going to carry on doing what I've always done to I can still carry on doing what I'm always done, or I can try something else. That's the minimum that's going to come from awareness. Because what comes from those options is our aim is we want as many options as possible. Because when you have options, what happens is you start exploring those options. What's a pro? What's a con of it? You know, maybe happening on a subconscious level, but by analysing more options, you can either come up with another option or actually you're confirming your next step is the right one. Because what comes after options is the choice. So which one of those options are you going to choose to do? Because you've got options, you've not been told to do something, you're making that choice for that last step of make that action live. Because again, we can choose one of those options, but if you don't actually do it, you've not done anything. So what we need is awareness that creates those options, that allows us to make a choice, that makes an action, that leads to personal responsibility.
You mentioned unconscious bias and confirmation bias. What are those? So unconscious bias, what does that mean?
So unconscious bias is around us thinking about that people think of stuff in the same way that we do. And again, it's those biases that we have, like preferential on, let's say, how we learn, for example. That's an unconscious bias because we don't know that we've got a bias to produce training that looks like ABC, but because we like it that way, that's what we produce. And it can be the same at work when we think about how we like to be communicated to. Then actually the chances are we communicate to others in that way and then don't understand why they respond how we want them to. You can go all the way over to, biases around people's personalities, people's background, upbringings, and all things like that. That is all brought into that unconscious bias that you can only really know what you've lived Actually, what we want to do is challenge those unconscious bias and learn more about it so we can start to understand other people's point of views better.
Yeah, for me, it's about making it conscious, because then you can do something with it. And the example I normally go to with this, if we look at HR, is around recruitment, that I recruit person A over person B because they support the same football team as I do. Or more realistically, they've been through the same education system as me, or because they dress in a similar way to me. So we're building connection on those aspects, or we're choosing that person rather than choosing them because of the character traits, the behaviors, the experience, the knowledge, the skill set that they're going to bring into the business and help the business grow, fit in with the team. So it's about making it conscious. And then the other one you mentioned was confirmation bias. So what does that mean?
So that's all around, I think this way. So because my thinking creates my reality, what I'm looking for is stuff that's confirming what I'm thinking.
To overcome that confirmation bias from the negative perspective, where we hook onto the negative bit, is that about building awareness?
Yeah, it's about looking outside of our box. It's about opening our mind to go, I want to see everything that's happening. And I think a really good example of it's on our Train the Trainer program. And on our Train the Trainer program, we have a camera technician. What this does is this gives the opportunity for the delegates that are on that course to visually watch themselves, to visually gain awareness of how they present, the words they use, the body language they have, without me saying anything. Because I can tell them X, Y, Z. However, that's going to have less of an impact from them looking at it and going, actually, I'm a really good. How I delivered that was fantastic. The body language I used, the conversational tone that I used really had an impact. I'm going to continue to do that. I'm really good at that. However, I also saw this that I could improve upon, because that's linking back into that personal responsibility. Is when I give feedback, a lot of the delegates go, I have to do that. And if it doesn't work at the end, they're probably going to blame me. Where actually, if they watch themselves, establish what sort of trainer they are, build their own awareness that builds those options, that's when people take personal responsibility. And I think on training courses, that's really important, because most people come to a training course going, tell me how to be a great trainer. Tell me how to be a great leader. I don't do any of that. I'm just going to give you awareness so you've got more options to make that choice from, and you will make yourself a great leader. You will make yourself a great trainer from those options that you have. Because when we take personal responsibility of it, appreciation should be set at the right level. As leaders, or as leadership in a business, at times what we do is we tell people what to do. We tell them what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Now, you're actually taking away a lot of my choice, or you're limiting my choices to either I'm leaving after day one because I don't like it, or I'm just going to do it. But what happens is, if I've got a problem or something doesn't quite work out, all I go is, told me. I've done exactly what you told me to do, but actually I didn't start thinking outside the box. And as leaders and that, what we need to do is start thinking, we spent millions of pounds employing people for their personalities, for their skills. Well, how can I create the space for awareness to be discovered? And this could be me giving them feedback. This could be me giving them an outline. This could be me giving them a destination where we want to go. But make sure that options and choice space sits firmly with them, with the action that they're going to take, because that's where we want is everyone to take personal responsibility of the job that they've got, and actually take advantage of the skills that leaders. At times we are responsible for achieving the results. Now, I see things slightly differently. I say we're responsible for developing the people, the culture, and the values for others to achieve that result. And so when we're starting to think of that space, we're creating it that then goes, so I'm no longer telling people what they need to do to achieve the results. I'm giving them the awareness, the space to create their own awareness, to give them the options to achieve those results. Because what we've got to understand as leaders is, if we tell people how to do something, we're limiting the success because we're limited by our own thoughts, our own knowledge, and our own skills. When we start thinking about it as a team, we're no longer limited just by ourselves. Because guess what? Everyone can give their opinion and you can still go, no, I think the best option was mine, and we'll go forward. Or we can put that space out for the team first. You can bring all that knowledge together, that awareness together that's given you more options as a leader. I'm going to use an example where most people think they don't have a choice. So let's say you work in an environment that either you're in a job that you don't really enjoy, or you've got some aspirations to be something else. However, you've got a mortgage to pay, you've got bills to pay, etc., etc. So a lot of people go, well, I was stuck because I had A, B, C. Well, actually, straight away, we need to open that up and go, you can either carry on working in that place or you can leave and go and work somewhere else or not have a job at all. Now, what I'm never saying is that the options are easy, okay? And so we do have to think about, oh, well, I've got a mortgage and I've got this to pay and, you know, all of those aspects, because that's your pros and cons. But just by giving you that options, those two options, that's the start of you taking personal responsibility. Because even if you choose that I'm going to carry on working here because I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got, children or a family to support, so I've got responsibilities, at least when we get to the bottom, you go, but I've chosen to stay here instead of I'm just here. Why do I think it's so life impacting, this model? So I went through a redundancy process that resulted in me leaving my previous role and starting here. And I'd been through a number of redundancy processes and stayed within the business. But this was the first time I'd truly taken responsibility of it. Sort of every other time it was, well, I'll apply for the job that I've got, and if I get it, I'll probably stay. And then I'll stay, and then you end up not loving your job 6 months down the line. And it's just how it is and how life goes, and you just get money in and, you know, it just sort of turns around. But this was the first time I went, okay, well, I understand this model. What options are open to me? And what are the pros and cons about it? And gain that awareness. So, you know, I started looking at what is my skill set? I'd started finding new skills that I didn't realize I had before that then allowed me more options. So I can stay. I could look for a job somewhere else in the field that I'm currently in that was a bit more of that continuous improvement area. Or actually, I've learned I'm quite knowledgeable in this leadership development side. I could start exploring that side, or, you know, all those options that meant my choice was, in the end, it's probably time for me to leave this business and go and search for something else in the leadership space, because actually this is what I'm passionate about and this is where I want to move to. That meant I applied for jobs in that space that resulted in me taking this role. Now, I didn't know whether that was going to have a positive impact on my life or a negative and everything that goes with it. But what I did was take personal responsibility to go, this is my choice. I don't want any job. I don't want to take the easy option of staying where I am. And I don't want to take the easy option of going somewhere else, but in the same field. Actually, this is my time to go, I want to do something different, for better or worse. And then from taking this job, that's given me more awareness of skills, but also areas that I still need to work on. That mean my options going forward are, well, I could just deliver programs, or actually I could be on a podcast and learn and understand the aspects of that. And that's given me a choice to go, do I say yes to you when you say, let's go on a podcast or not? And that just allows me now to go, actually, I'm in full control of me. And when I say full control, I mean, I am now taking responsibility of my life. Before I didn't, things just happened to me and I ended up in a space. Now, everything's a conscious choice that means I'm taking full responsibility of my life. And that probably brings me more happiness than anything else, because now I now know I'm making an active choice in every aspect. Every day you should get up and go, I'm choosing to go into work today because I really like my job, or actually I'm so passionate about my responsibilities to my family that I need to earn this money to be able to pull it in. That gives us meaning every single day, because we're putting the responsibility onto us. We're not going because I have to. We're moving into a space because I choose to. And I think that is as simple as a mindset shift of just taking responsibility of every choice I make, every situation I'm in. A lot of the time we think things are outside of our control, but actually we still have a choice. We still have those options available to us. What are you going to do with it?
Time for top 3 leadership sound bites. What have you got for us this time?
So build awareness first with us. So actually, if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, yeah, actually it resonates with me, I need to build some more awareness. I need to think of maybe some different things I'm going to do with my team. You need to build that awareness because, you know, in this model, I'm not telling you that you've got to create awareness for people. This is a suggestion. This is an idea. This is just listening to me now. You're creating awareness that gives you another option. Actually building my own awareness, challenging my unconscious bias, maybe bringing awareness to others. They're options for me. Out of those, what choice are you going to make? So it still sits with you. So whether this is a reflection time, whether this is a meditation time, whether this is just your weekly notes and things like that, start to create awareness, start to understand where your unconscious bias sits, start to have a look where your confirmation bias sits, where your reality is always up here in your mind. It isn't what's happening outside. So actually, let's challenge that reality and let's see the world for what it is, not being clouded by some of those biases, and start creating awareness for ourselves on how we can help both ourselves and others take more personal responsibility. Second will be create awareness for others. So feedback is a really easy way of creating awareness. A lot of people think feedback is someone's going to give me some feedback and I've got to act on it. But it isn't. It's just awareness. So don't hold back feedback from people because feedback's all about people reaching their natural potential. Okay, so use feedback. Use your questioning techniques as leaders. Don't give the answer. Understand before being understood. Give them the space. There is a skills gap between telling people what to do and then moving to ask questions. So the first time you go, I'm going to ask some more questions because I want people to take more personal responsibility, the answer you're going to get is probably not the best one. But that's because they're used to a different style of management or leadership that is, I'm going to be told what to do. So give them the opportunity to prove to themselves and to prove to you that actually they do have the understanding and the options. But that comes with us and our behaviours. So start asking those questions, giving that feedback, giving as much information as possible to them so they can own it. So then they start building and taking that full responsibility. Because ultimately, this is about personal responsibility and the behavioural change that then comes with it. Because people will have a choice. People can go, no, I like to be told what to do, when to do it and how to do it. But I'm afraid that's not their job. Their job is to take personal responsibility of their role. And in that is deciding some of the actions that they're going to take. And actually it's about us encouraging it, giving that growth space so people can reach their natural potential. Because when people reach their natural potential, the chances are they're going to maximise their income because they're great at their job. They're going to maximise job satisfaction, so they're going to be happier at work. Chances are if you're happy at work, you're happier in your life. And actually, that's all we want from life, isn't it? To be happy. And we can create that in the workplace. And us as leaders can have an impact on people's lives, not just now, but going forward in the future. And I think that's really powerful that someone can still be talking about us in 20, 30 years' time and the impact that we had on their career, but also their life.
Darren, awesome. Thank you very much. Insightful as ever. Love listening to that and talking about it as well. Thank you all for listening as well. Don't forget to hit subscribe and please leave some comments, and we'll see you next time on Sound Leadership. The Sound Leadership podcast was produced by Media First. To learn more about the media crisis and communications training, visit mediafirst.co.uk. The editor and producer was Darren Wingham. The show was hosted, written and researched by me, Dan Boniface. A special thanks to all the team at Media First and the BCF Group for supporting the development of this podcast. To learn more about the management, leadership, training and coaching that the BCF Group offer, visit thebcfgroup.co.uk or get in touch by emailing hello@thebcfgroup.co.uk. Finally, a special thanks to our exceptional guest today, who you can contact via the BCF Group.